Have you ever been drawn into the unknown where your curiosity has pushed you into new environments to seek that understanding, to explore these places and see how it can improve yourself through what is there? I think it's such a deeply humane trait where we're always looking to the horizon to see what we can learn from it and how we can improve ourselves through that momentum of moving forward. But I think there's a second, more deeper human trait, and that's to keep people out of those spaces. Like throughout human history, we've built walls, we've built castles, we've put locks on doors. That just makes that curiosity so much sweeter to get behind it. And really, it's such a cool concept with games and immersive technologies where you can drive the player into spaces by making something appear like they shouldn't be there. And this has been a bit of an ongoing message because like we've got all this human history behind us, but what does that look like in 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years? And this is actually a really big problem inside nuclear waste storage. So if you're ever familiar with the Sadia National Laboratories report about long-term nuclear waste storage, it's been something I'm really fascinated about because they have these pictures of giant spikes coming out of the ground like 20 meters tall. It's all designed to sort of mess with someone walking around this environment. It was really interesting and it stuck with me. And I wanted to explore this space, but you can't go outside and build a 20-foot concrete spire. No one's going to let you do that. But with the nice little technology of VR, I was able to create that environment in Meta Horizon's new desktop editor, and I wanted to share this today. So enough talking about, let's get into it. So as you can tell, that's been living in my head rent-free for a while now. And when I first heard about this concept, like it really shows how people can come up with solutions to long-term problems. Like if you go back like say 4 to 1,000 years, like the English we're talking now, we wouldn't be able to understand what they're talking about just because that's how quickly language changes. So if you were to write down, hey, nuclear waste, don't touch it, that's not going to last for a very long time, and we need it to last a very, very long time. So using the environment to try and deter and inform a civilization in the future, so using architecture and shape to make these spaces appear more hostile and foreboding and you don't want to be here, it's really interesting, especially for that space. And I think for me personally, the first time I really got to experience this was in Fallout 76. I was super happy that they were going to put that 10,000 year project into it. It was one of the first areas I beelined into the game. And then when I got there and finding out that it's only a tiny little area of the map, I'm like, oh, it's kind of small. So that's where I wanted to come in with this world and just make such a large landscape that you're walking to the center of it. It's actually 4 kilometers long. We'll get more of that in the Blender part, but yeah, it's like you are trudging through this environment that's getting more and more hostile to try and keep you out. So I think right now what we'll do is open up Blender and show a little bit of the backing of how I got such a massive environment into Meta Horizons. Here we are inside of Blender, and as you can see, we are dealing with quite a large environment. It is 4 kilometers across from edge to edge, and really this is a bit of a stress test for Meta Horizon. Me personally, I just wanted to make sure that what size of environment I could build to start with and how much geometry I can fit in there, because it does actually have quite a lot of geometry where it's just making these single point spikes that come out of the ground. Like they're not that much topology, but there's just a lot of them. So there's a few tricks I've done, like I've split up and kept geometry simple, but I've also split up these rings into sections as well. So your camera frustum would only be able to see about this inside of Meta Horizon. So as you can see, that has quite a lot less geometry, far smaller than the 250,000 polygons I've got for this environment. And it's being able to stream this in and load it as quick as possible. So that's why doing these chunks with smaller amounts of geometry, hoping it will come in a lot faster, and it did do that as well. So I've done some other things as well. So it's very minimal texturing. It's such a surreal environment, like very darks and dirty colors. So I only really need 2 textures for this one. But I won't spoil the environment because it doesn't look impressive from the air. It looks way more impressive from the ground. So here we are inside of Meta Horizons, and as you can see, with a little bit of environment lighting, a little bit of fog, how eerie and creepy is that? And in VR, it is a lot more impressive when you can realize how tall these spikes are. Like first person camera, you're sort of getting the sense of it, but the size, like as you go through this environment and start walking through, you get that sense of dread and all that good stuff. So as you can see, this is way more impressive in VR. You just get that sense of scale and what this feels like to navigate this environment. And it has a lot in here. So very happy with this. We'll keep venturing that way and sort of do a bit of a chat, because what I've done is taken artistic license on the spike field, but there were other concepts as well. So if you were to look at this from the sky, it's like thunderbolt shape, but of using it as another barrier as well. These sort of spires, I won't go all the way towards the center. I'll leave that for you to go through, but it really disorientates you because you can't see too far. And like, we do have that technical limitation of how far we can see, but physically, if you were to get lost in here, like that's why I have the sound always coming from there, is you can experience it, get lost, see how it feels. But as you get closer to the center, it will start doing more things to keep you out. So we're coming up to one of the barriers, and I think this one's really interesting. Like, it was supposed to be a grid cut into the ground with these spikes coming out to make it look really disorientating. Now we're supposed to be keep going that way, but one of the things I wanted to highlight is, well, I'm quite tall, so for the average person, that is going to be blocking their view. So doing some tricky things like people trying to see further than they can, and they want to stick on these lines here, you actually miss the inner ring and being able to get over there. So these sort of psychological environmental storytelling, and like the black concrete they were going to pour, like that is really interesting how they're going to bring that into a space like that. I would never be able to build this in real life, but being able to bring it in VR, you can get a sense of that scale. This was a bit of a technical test to make sure that my pipelines are going to work with Meta Horizon. I think there's a really good video somewhere in the future about how to manage large levels or worlds inside of a 3D modeling suite, so you can bring them straight in. I have a lot of experience doing that for work, but all you can do is you have one little file that you bring across, and because I broke up all the geometry into like lots of little objects, Meta Horizon didn't really have an issue. I think 65K is usually where engines have to do some recalculations of mesh, so I avoided that, and it did really well importing it, learning the new material systems and that. So it's got all the textures on there, and yeah, it just wraps up in a nice neat little file that has all the objects broken out, so I can go in there and clean it up if I want to. So another point as well, because this is such a large environment and you can get lost if you definitely don't have any navigations, but I tried to have different types of environments through this. So like nice space, and it gets a lot more spiky, but I have a sound component to it as well. I'm going to talk more about that on my music channel, because I use these fantastical little machines behind me to create sort of eerie drone. So as you get closer, it starts to augment and get a lot more chaotic to sort of drive the sense of dread, like you shouldn't be here, getting closer to here. But over that technical stuff, is such a really cool experience to see how big of an environment you can fit into Meta Horizons. So in the end, I got to scratch my curiosity itch about this environment. It's been something I really wanted to explore for a long time. I think I've captured it really well, and I've left the center untouched so you can go scratch your curiosity itch as well, because one of the benefits of being on Meta Horizon are they open up to mobile, desktop, internet, as well as the VR headset, so you can go explore it as well. I'm going to leave a link down below in the comments so you can go and jump straight into that world if you want to right now. But if you did enjoy this video, definitely give it that thumbs up. It does point it to other people are probably looking at this spike field or how they can bring big worlds into Meta Horizon. So if you do, I thank you for that. And if you got any comments or queries about this video, please feel free to leave them down below. It really does help out gauge where this content goes, and being such a new little channel for immersive HGM, it's good to get some direction to take this place. But I think you will see a lot more meta content popping up on this channel, just because of being an accessible way to get into VR development. So in the end, if you did enjoy that one, I look forward to seeing you next time.